Yo, CI 280, language philosophy statement, visual representation. So, to summarize, I'm just going to be talking about a few things, uh, two instructional practices, or three instructional practices for my MLs and their families. And then I'm going to go into a few instructional practices to enhance culture with these MLs and their families. And then I'll go on to talk about my beliefs and commitments that I'll be making for when I'm a teacher in the future. So those three main topics I'll hit. But to start off, I kind of want to summarize everything that we'll be talking about, which was included in the essay portion. So just my philosophy and my pedagogy. So my approach to multilingual students is to make connections between the English language and their home language. My approach to make these connections between the students' home language and English is to physically connect and meet with the students and their families in person outside of regular school hours. Communication strategies with students' families and some of the commitments are hangout nights in a classroom on a weeknight about twice a month, so like bi-weekly, to learn about each other's culture and food. Also communicating to the parents via email can be useful, and there are many translating technology applications on the internet, and I'll get into those later. Some pictures, those can help as well. And I'll talk about, pictures, learning in the classroom using the English word and the student's home language version of the word when they're filling in notes. And lastly, committing to provide videos in the student's home language is also my approach. But anyways, some instructional practices. We talked about collaborative learning strategy. The internet is also useful, and multimodalities. So to summarize kind of everything together, the internet can be useful because you can use Google Translate, SpanishDict.com. Shout out Mrs. Moody. If you know, you know. And then there's a lot of other technology websites out there that kind of just translate for you. But you can use that in the classroom to write these emails home to the parents to help communicate to your ML students. But then collaborative learning strategy and multimodalities, this all kind of talks about how the student can learn best. So what fits them best, whether it be an adaptation like I said before, when they're fill in the blank notes, do the English version and let's say like their home language version, write both. Or if they don't learn best that way, just like getting lectured and stuff, like you can do hands-on activities because some people learn better that way, or watching videos, some people learn better that way. So that kind of summarizes my instructional practices. But now getting into the enhancement for the culture of the MLs and their families. So for the culture side, I figured we could have these families bring in food on these parent-teacher nights every couple weeks, like the bi-weekly things, just on a weeknight, and you can understand each other's backgrounds, traditions, music, shows, personality, and like the foods they eat. So they bring in food, you guys talk, meet each other, and then at these parent-teacher nights, we'll have these translator apps going so you can, communicate with the parents and just get to know them better so that the parents feel like, my kid's in a good spot. Now, linguistically, that's kind of the culture side, but linguistically is how you would communicate with them via the technology and stuff at these parent-teacher nights. So that's the culture part, bringing in food, talking, and then the linguistic part is using the technology in order to understand them and their language. Now, the belief and commitment, I believe in equity in providing multilingual students with an additional English class in place of the one that they're currently in if they seem to be struggling. And I commit myself to propose that idea to whatever school decides to hire me in the future. So that's kind of my commitment to that belief that I have. And then another belief that I have is that multilingual students have way more potential for success when you connect with them on their culture and their like home native language in the classroom setting. So for example, if they're falling behind, in a class because they don't understand the English part of it, because you're only learning in English, provide them with an example of like fill in the blank notes in their home language. That way, they actually get to understand the material, and it sets them up for success better in the future. So that's kind of my beliefs and my commitment. Overall, I'm super excited to be incorporating these practices when I'm a teacher in the future. So with that, that's my visual representation for the language philosophy statement.